here from the Coliseum Cafe and Grill Room over here in Selangor, Malaysia. We are here today with day number 1 of the group stage of Masters Coliseum, number 7, numero 7. And I am, of course, your host, Yaku of the Zaku, and with me today is La Goofy Goober que come los Ubers, Light _ VIP. How we doing, Light?
We were talking about nuts earlier, yes. But welcome back, everyone. It's great to be here. It's great to be back here once again with Masters Coliseum 7. Of course, we were here with Masters Coliseum 6 last season. It was an amazing event. It was beautiful, and now we are here to crown a new champion in the aftermath of WTL of the World Team League season. We have crowned the best team in the world, but now it's about the best player.
Indeed. Get out of here with all your team stuff. All right, because now it's time for the one.
There you go. Exactly. It's time for the one. And even more so here because up first we have Dark versus Oliveira. A team kill. You know, these two players, they've been fighting on the same team for months in the WTL season, and now they have to face off against each other.
Yeah, that's kind of the DKZ CranKy gaming curse, isn't it? I mean, for the longest time, we did have Dark versus Hero over and over and over and over and over again, and now it looks like Oliveira is kind of jumping into that a little bit. We have that sort of rivalry of the best Zerg player, the best Terran player, and of course the best Protoss player in that team going at each other, and constantly trying to see who is the overall best.
Oh, exactly. They're all amazing players. You know, that's why DKZ did so well in the WTL season. They did well for themselves, but they did not make it to the finals. They were knocked out a little bit earlier on by the amazing run that Team Liquid had, the amazing run that Clem had, of course. And we'll be featuring Clem later on tomorrow. Some people were asking about it, and for those that are curious, every single match is going to be casted. Today we have 4 matches. Tomorrow we have another 4 best of 3s. So every game will be casted here on the Cranky Ducklings.
Indeed, we shall. Every single game. And I think it is pretty important you know that we have 4 today, we have 4 tomorrow. They are all best of 3s. And it's a little bit of a departure from what we used to have in Masters Coliseum, because now, for the very first time, the group stage is using a Swiss format.
Exactly. In seasons past, it was round robin. Here, it's a Swiss format instead. Swiss format can be a little bit more complicated to wrap your head around, and we'll go, from step to step, from round to round. For the time being, we do have all these players facing off, and
I still have my calculator.
Oh god.
Still has some battery.
Beautiful. So we'll get there. Meanwhile, you can see our players getting ready to duke it out. Vetoes have concluded. We have our bans, we have our picks as well. And everything is looking pretty standard so far. Nothing too crazy. We have some of the larger maps earlier on. Golden Ore is going to be a little bit spicy if we do reach that far, if we do get into game number 3.
Yeah. Noticing the continuing pattern going on. Rat House, Radizet Station, always getting banned.
Yeah, Equilibrium's another big one that's been getting banned as well. Interesting that Dark has gotten rid of some of the smaller maps.
Yeah, definitely an interesting choice here from Dark, as he is known to be a very aggressive Zerg player. He loves just getting right up onto your face from as early as possible, applying pressure on his opponents, but it looks like he is going back to, in a way, going back to what I think really set him apart from a lot of the other Zerg players back in the day, which is more going into the late game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the other big thing that Dark is more than willing to do as well, if he can lure you into a later game, then he can, of course, catch you with something crazy like an all-in. But here we go in the bottom right-hand corner. We have Dark for CranKy Gaming.
Not in the dungeon this time. And over here in the top left-hand corner, we have the Red Terror player from the land of China, representing CranKy Gaming. We have Oliveira.
Beautiful.
It's even faster.
They're not giving us any time here, but again, big shout out to the sponsors of Masters Coliseum. Shout out to Doyu, Honkai Star Taido, Order Full, and a new sponsor for this tournament, Bill Bill. I don't know if you saw the ad. It was really confusing because they had like a gun.
Yeah.
That's like it makes sense because of the name of the thing, but I think it's like it's like an app or something. It's like a messaging app.
It appears to be. That's what that's what I gleaned from the ad. But Wikipedia is telling me that Biu Biu is the name of a PUBG mobile player from Malaysia.
A player. Oh wait.
and also a League of Legends player from. Oh no, these are different people.
Yeah. There you go. So we share the IDs with clearly these pro gamers are sponsoring Master Coliseum. That's clearly what's happening.
Exactly.
We are sinking our teeth into this. Again, predictions in the chat are about to close, so place your bets on how you think this series will unfold and who you think will come out on top in this best of 3.
Yeah, going to be a very tight matchup to start things off with, I do predict. I mean, this is kind of how it goes. It was seeded, but it wasn't directly seeded the same way that, say, something like ESL Masters is seeded based on the ESL points and whatnot. From what I can tell, SC Boy kind of has their own system of seeding that they're doing back there, which I am still trying to figure out.
Yeah, it's seeding based on performances in Kung Fu Cup and World Team League. So based on kind of wins and like big performances there, players were seeded, players were invited. There were also some qualifiers that we did cast a couple of weeks ago. It was the final week of December, which were the qualifiers for this event, and yeah, we were able to get one player from each region, one player from Asia, one player from Korea, one player from Europe, and one player from the Americas as well. So really cool to see kind of a wide, diverse group of players getting involved here. Again, the best of the best are going to be duking it out, and so far here in the ZvT, everything's been looking normal. It was a Hatchgas Spool standard opener out of Dark. Likewise, Oliveira going for what looks to be a relatively standard opener himself.
Yeah, just sort of testing the waters to kick things off with. Neither player being taking too many chances, taking too many risks here. Oliveira very promptly backs away with his Reaper, trying to keep it alive.
Yeah, Reaper does back off. Meanwhile, in the main base, we do see that there is no third CC, by the way. That's what I was curious about. It is going to be a straight-up 1-1-1 opener from Oliveira, so something far more aggressive here from our Chinese Terran.
Yeah, not something we see too often nowadays. Nowadays, it is usually all about the 3cc before starport when it comes to doing a 1-1-1 opener like this. Something a lot more economic. So, like you said, Oliveira's just looking to kick this off with a little bit of heat.
Exactly, and we'll see if he can spice it up here. Now, he is not all in, but Oliveira's third CC is delayed. It is going to be a delayed third CC here from our Terran player, so he needs to get damage done with this. Now, in favor of the late third, it's going to be faster Banshees in general, Banshee production, as well as an abundance of Hellions to work with. So we'll see if we can break the defenses of Dark early on.
Yeah, pretty standard starport with Hellion build coming up from Oliveira here. Of course, with the Banshee, it is much more versatile, so Oliveira wasn't quite able to get into the main base, I don't think, but he did scout the third. He knows that there's no roach push coming his way or anything, but regardless, it's nice to have a Banshee just in case.
Oh yeah, exactly. And our goal here is to get economic damage done. We do see Hellions going to be poking on the front lines. Queens are in position here, both in between the natural and the third base. We do see the Banshee actually bypassing the third and going to be trying to slip in towards the main base or even towards that third mineral line.
Yeah, it looks like Dark did catch some eyes on this with his Overlord. Thankfully, he was already building a couple Spore Crawlers by his more vulnerable bases, so he has a little bit of detection. They're not quite done yet, so no Overseers.
Overseers. 2 workers go down. The Banshee does escape with its life. So far, a nice start for Oliveira. But again, he's hoping for more damage. Meanwhile, we shouldn't be too surprised, but we have some tech here from Dark. He is indeed going for a Roach War.
Yeah, too few people surprised, I suppose. Dark, he's a bit of a Roach boy. Kind of how he made a name for himself as... Kind of how he made a name for himself back in around 2017, 2018. My memory of 2016 is a little fuzzy, but I believe he was still using roaches back then as well.
Yeah, again, he's been a roach boy for a long time. It's what he really does embrace here. Now, this doesn't mean he's going to commit to just purely roaches. Later on down the line, he can diversify and get into a Hydra Lurker or Ling Bane as well. But for now, roaches are just a really secure and safe way to open up in this matchup, especially considering how aggressively Oliveira opened up with all these Hellions. So he should be relatively safe and secure, but again, it's on Oliveira to try to pull apart those queens.
It absolutely is. Queens are a great defense, but they can be a little bit squishy if they do get targeted off of creep. Dark finally making use of these lings, which he knows won't be too useful in the defense, so sends about for a little bit of a run by. Oliveira reciprocates. A couple of drones go down, a little bit of lost mining time. Yeah, just trading blows.
Pretty good here. 3 workers go down. That's 5 in total for Oliveira. He also doesn't really lose too much to the Ling run by, so really clean defense out of Oliveira. And we are committing, by the way. Here we go. Dark droned up to 70. That's true. That's a Nidus Worm on the way. We are going to be hitting a timing with +1 roaches here with queens to support.
Yeah, this is going to be absolutely devastating. But before that all happens, Oliveira himself is setting up for a little bit of a push. Coming out with a little bit of a scouting force, keeps most of his Marines alive, but most importantly, 1-1 is about to finish up for him. Combat shield is about to be done. Don't quite have eyes on the tank count just yet, but he is building a bunch of them. He catches eyes on the Nidus. This Nidus Worm should not pop up.
Yeah, it's going to be close, and it barely does finish, but only a couple of roaches do come out, so it should be dealt with. At the same time, though, Roach is going to be pushing towards a third base instead. Hellbats are getting picked off. So far, the Hellbats are doing a great job at buying time for the rest of the army.
Yeah, really important. Tank is a little bit exposed, but it does get a couple of volleys on top of this Roach army, which allows the Sim Marines to really pretty much clean the rest of them off. Banshee survived from earlier, and that really is going to be the major deterrent here for Dark.
Yeah, and with that, Oliveira, he holds and is in a pretty good position here. He lost the Hellbats, sure, he lost a handful of SCVs, but if you look at the worker count, he's even, which means he's ahead because we have mules on top of that. Dark was so committed to his attack that he had cut workers at 70, and suddenly Oliveira's in a bit of a better position than Dark. The onus is on him to try to make something more happen.
Yeah, he really needs to make use of these roaches while he still can. They do not scale well at all into the late game, which he is trying to get to right now. He is working on that infestation pit, but Dark, of course, is still only on 4 bases at the moment. That is nowhere near enough to sustain a late game Zerg army.
Exactly, and now Oliveira is catching up at upgrades. Both players start up 2-2. Immediately, Dark, he throws down Infestation Pit, and he throws down a Hydrogen. He is starting up Hive. So he's trying to transition into Hydra Lurker Viper, which is a good transition, but until then, he's still stuck with Roach Ravager.
Which, as we can see right here, doesn't do anything against these flying units. Marines come down, Marines go up. Can't explain that. Can't really do anything about them.
Yeah, the Marines, they trade well, they pick up, they get the hell out of there. We have Liberators in between the bases as well, trying to find some damage here, and again, there's still no good answer to them. Lurker Den is now in production, so again, Darky just needs a little bit more time to refine his army, as Oliveira is going for a bit of a dive. He does catch a couple more units here.
Yeah, not too bad. Whatever he can really do to shave off the army count will be beneficial for him when he eventually goes in with his follow-up push.
It definitely is. We get another Nidus into the main base. Again, trying to distract his opponent. We have Dark with a tri-pronged attack. We have Nidus into the main, which does finish with only a single Roach does pop out. At the same time, we have the Roaches pushing towards the third, but we are in position. The Roaches are deflected. We also have Lings ready for a run by, but so far, again, Oliveira's done a great job here at holding. And the supplies can be deceiving. Yes, Dark, he is up in army supply, but that is inflated supply because of all these roaches.
Yeah, very inflated supply. Dark needs to get rid of them, but he also needs to make sure that when he does get rid of them, he's not going to be rolled over by the Marines and tanks of Oliveira.
Yeah, it's a bit of a process trying to trade out some of your inefficient supply and trying to refine yourself. And there we go. We have 5 Lurkers on the way. We have 2 Vipers, Lurker range as well. We're working towards all those upgrades. A nice Ling counterattack, actually. The SCVs, they did main out a little bit too soon. We do finally get some economic damage.
And a little bit of attention taken away from the main base, it seems, as that Nidus Worm is going up.
Yeah, it is on the way. We have a couple of reinforcements. The Marauders, they do stim on in, and they take down the Nidus. Once again, this Nidus hasn't been able to find any damage whatsoever. Really, really nice attention to detail from Oliveira. Also, maybe a little bit lucky. Whenever this Nidus, he just happens to have some reinforcements in position, and he's able to clean it up, able to deal with it.
Yeah, really good responses from Oliveira. Not overreacting or anything. He knows that just 3 Marauders with stim, that's all you need to take out Nidus Worm at that point. So he's not really bringing anything too far away from his front lines. Oliveira, meanwhile, is starting to push in, and that is a terrifying tank line.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of tanks. We do have some lurkers at event. We have Vipers as well. That's very important. Ghosts are not ready yet. They're in production, but here we go. We can go for some yoinks.
Yeah, really good way of dealing with these tanks. Oliveira thankfully will be able to save one of them, and he still has plenty more in the back. Dark now trying whatever he can do to really chase this back. He is trading away his roaches. The lurkers are still standing strong, and despite these scans, there just isn't enough army to deal with the lurkers.
Yeah, exactly. Those lurkers did so much DPS in the backline. Despite the arc, despite the concave of Oliveira, he did not have enough, and Dark will hold, and he's instantly remaxing with Hydras and lurkers.
Just like so. And all of a sudden, things are gonna start to really swing in Dark's favor.
Yeah, like that
still
was
a little bit light. Yeah, I was gonna say still a little bit light when it comes to the bases. Still a little, could do a little bit better when it comes to production. But as we can see, he's already completely remaxed. Oliveira still needs a lot of time to remake all of those tanks.
Yeah, like that push out from Oliveira, that was his moment. That was his moment to really potentially even end the game. But now it's being forced back again. The tank arm was almost reset. Good EMPs here on top of the Vipers, even good snipes as well. But there's just too much on the ground. GG is gonna get called, and Dark takes game number 1.
GG. Nicely done here from Dark. It feels like both of our players were trading back and forth for the longest part in this game, but when it all came down, to that major push by Oliveira, Dark just crushed it when it came to the defense, and yeah, just took a lead and ran with it.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty close, though, in the sense that, again, Dark, he needed desperately those lurkers to survive there, and if he was any later with those lurkers, then that massive tank army would have broken through and would have potentially ended the game. But with Dark having a really good fight there, with Dark yoinking and resetting that tank count, he did have a lot of momentum there, and Oliveira needed time.
Yeah, those lurkers and those Vipers, the absolute top MVPs. Like, maybe without the Vipers, Dark might still have been able to defend, but those lurkers, man, they really put in a lot of work. If Dark fought that army of Oliveira without him, I don't see a way for him to have held against that.
Yeah, exactly. So what I will also say is that Oliveira, he did well for himself up until that point, right? He had a solid early to mid game. Like, he was deflecting blows, he was getting his economy up and running, getting up to 4 bases. Like, that was all quite solid from our turn.
Yeah, like you mentioned, he had a very keen attention to detail. Every single time Dark was trying to harass, every single time Dark was trying to send a Nidus up, Oliveira, with just the bare minimum, knew how to defend efficiently. But here we are in game number 2 now. In the bottom left hand corner, we have our blue sword player, we have Dark for CranKy Gaming. DKG, Korea.
And in the top right hand corner, we have the red Terran player representing CranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira.
The map is Alcione, by the way.
It is. They don't give us time, Bobby. They don't give us time. They only give us Oliveira.
Oh, that's a good trade.
Also, Funada Aisan in the chat. I don't know if you saw. Does Overlords provide in-plane supply?
I saw it. I chose to ignore it. But now we have to address it, so...
We do. Shaking my head. Oh my god. But yeah, solid game from Dark.
In the chat. That's not a thing. Do not try.
Solid game out of Dark as well, right? For him to acknowledge and transition and get the hell out of those roaches as well. You could definitely argue that in that period where Dark was transitioning, where he was backing off, where Oliveira, instead of working towards one big push, maybe there should have been a little bit of pressure there to try to get some economic damage done. He was trying to with his Liberators, if you remember, but I don't recall his Libs ever really getting too much or getting out of hand or really killing too many workers across the map.
Yeah, I mean, they were unupgraded. They were unupgraded Liberators, to be fair. So I think Dark, because he did catch them pretty early on, was able to reposition Spore Crawlers pretty early on and get them into very key positions where Liberators couldn't really do much here.
Dark is crazy, by the way.
Yep.
Do you see what I see?
I see... Yeah, I do. In fact, see what you see.
Dark is going for a gasless opener. That was hatch pool hatch, by the way. So a very greedy opener out of Dark. This is something that Dark does on Radis's Station, for example. He does it on Golden Aura. He does it on very defendable maps. To do it here on Alcyone, this is greedy. This is insanely greedy out of Dark.
Very much so. Alcyone is not known for being naturally defensible. For instance, it doesn't have that ramp going into the natural base that something like Oceanborn has. So this is a huge risk coming out here from Dark.
It really is. So the big thing here, if you're curious as to what Dark is up to, because he hasn't taken his gases, he of course doesn't have any link speed. This means that he is hyper fixated on defending with queens. It's just purely queens and a handful of slow links. It means that if Oliveira had gone for a 1-1-1 opener, if he had gone for a Hellion dive, then Dark would have a very hard time keeping up. But again, Dark keeps cutting corners. Because his gases are so late, this is going to lead into roach play.
Yeah, it kind of has to at this point. Which, you know, we were talking about the defenses of Alcyone. It does mean that Dark is a lot more vulnerable in the early game going gasless like this. But on the flip side, so will Oliveira. Now, obviously, with Terran, it's a little bit difficult. It's a little bit different because, of course, he does, and he absolutely should, be walling off that natural later on down the line. But even still, just not having that high ground can make a huge difference. It makes it that much more easy. It makes it that much easier for Ravagers to get their biles down, for instance.
Exactly, and Dark so far is getting away with it. You can see he's taking 3 gases at a time, like he's taking as many gases as possible. As you mentioned, he should be skipping link speed because, I mean, we don't really have any gas to spare at the moment, and we're rushing into roaches. Roach Warren is on the way. We see Oliveira did open up 3 CC before Starport, so as opposed to the previous game, a much more economic opener here from Oliveira, and this could be a big reason as to why Dark went for this. Specifically, Alcyone is a, like, it is not the most defendable map, but it's a very large, wide map. There's the goal bases on the right-hand side. There's the other half of the map that you can expand to. This typically does lead to longer games, and Dark, he took a bit of a gamble, and so far he's getting away with it.
Yeah, so far. We'll see how the execution actually goes as Oliveira starts to prepare himself to be a little bit more aggressive here with his Hellions. He will be able to catch wind of the roaches, and once he sees them, he should be able to put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, and at this point it may be too late, right? The roaches have come out just in time, and any potential Hellion dive into a mineral line isn't really too viable anymore. So we see Oliveira backing up, and now we're transitioning into a bit of a longer game. We should soon be taking our 3rd bases, but again, Dark, he's going to get away with joining up and, again, cutting a lot of corners.
Yeah, he has just swiped map control from underneath Oliveira's nose with this maneuver. Oliveira with these Hellions. This is typically how the Terran player gets map control in the early game, but with the roaches about,
yeah,
pretty much defeated.
Exactly. It's going to be so difficult to really punish the creep, because if we ever dip onto creep to clear up tumors, well, you have roaches to deal with, and Hellions will be getting picked off. So suddenly Dark is that much more formidable, and we can see that he's even taking his 4th base as the gold as well.
Yeah, because what's going to stop him? These Hellions? Yeah, they can try.
They can
take out a tumor.
Yeah, they can try. They can fail here. We do have Banshees moving out, and again, Oliveira did scout. He didn't just see the gold base being taken, so he's aware of it. He knows that he needs to make sure that he's able to punish the economy. The pressure is on Oliveira to make sure that Dark doesn't get away with any more greed at this point, that he doesn't get away with a free gold.
Yeah, definitely a lot easier said than done, though, especially as Dark is just teching up like mad. Is what happens when you give a Zerg player free reign. 6-minute infestation pit.
Very passive engagement. Not just that, we have +1 melee on the way, which means we are going to be transitioning out of roaches. They were just merely to defend early on, and now we're getting into Ling Bane. This could even lead into something like Ling Bane Ultras with the fast hive, or we could go into faster spellcasters like Vipers, like Infestors, like Darky. Has a lot of options.
Yeah. You can sample from basically any tech structure on the Zerg menu.
Many none. Look, I just still think you're like cat. Okay, that's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Hey, you know, Dark, he's got a lot of nuts.
He does. They're big, they're huge. He has no fear, and so far, we'll see if Oliveira can break through. He's being active now with a couple of drops to clear up some of this creep at the 7-minute mark here, but yeah, we have plenty of room to deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, whatever he can really do, as long as he doesn't lose too much, I was gonna say, as that Banshee goes down completely unnecessarily.
Not just that, but this Banshee opener didn't do anything, right? We weren't able to kill any workers, weren't able to deny any bases. The Banshee wasn't able to really pay for itself, and it did end up falling, and now Dark is going to be running away with this. The hive is about to finish up. The question becomes, what do we do with that hive? Do we rush into something like Ultras? There we go. Our first question is answered. There it is. We have Vipers and the Ultra Den.
Here we go. I was almost wondering if he was going to just rush out anabolic boosts, cracklings, because he is, working on his Ling Bane right now, but I guess for Dark, he is so rich when it comes to minerals and when it comes to map control that he can really do whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the Ultras, they take a long time. They take a long time to invest because of those upgrades, but here we go. We have Oliveira pushing right towards that goal base. Ling Bane going to be engaging, and we're getting on top of the tanks.
Yeah, unfortunately for Oliveira, a lot of his bio did have to pull back. Didn't quite have enough Hellbats to really defend against these onslaught of Lings. Ravagers are really landing the biles as well on top of these tanks. And this push has been completely deflected. This gold base is still alive, still up and running.
It is still up and running, and there we go. Ultra production has commenced. We have Kindness plating on the way. Now remember, these Ultras are unupgraded. They only have +1 attack and +1 defense, so they're not going to be the most terrifying of Ultras, so it's a little bit greedy of Dark to invest already into them, but we'll see if he can hold on because Oliveira is not done. He's coming out with a second wave.
Yeah, that production of Oliveira has just kept on going on. His economy as well has pretty much been untouched by Dark as well, so Oliveira's not starving too much when it comes to his production.
Yeah,
it's just not as big as Dark's production right now.
Well, yeah, just Dark, he cut so many corners, he got away with it. Dark, he's already remaxed, by the way. Oliveira having a really hard time keeping up when it comes to these main frontal pushes. That's what he's been relying on, not on drop play. Another tank is going to be going down in the center of the map, and Dark, he is not slowing down.
Yeah, he just keeps on going, which yeah. Thankfully, he stops in the middle of that because that was a line of tanks up a ramp. I was getting ready to see the explosions.
Yeah, we do back off for now, but kind of spending about to finish. I think we're waiting for Vipers. The Vipers are out, but I think we're just gathering up energy, waiting for blinding clouds or abductions so we can try to break these entrenched positions. Now, this third base and the fourth base of Oliveira are pretty well fortified. The third especially. The fourth is a bit more exposed, so we'll see where Dark decides to push in. We'll see if he does try to break that third base, despite the tank line.
That we shall. Always gotta appreciate Dark's classic skin on the Ultras.
Yeah, they're very thin and they're very classic, as you were mentioning. There we go. Blinding Cloud's gonna be thrown down. Tanks are gonna be covered here, and we're just pushing on through. We don't even care.
Yeah, the SimCity of Oliveira is good, but not good enough to overwhelm the Vipers, the Blinding Clouds, the Ultras, the insane amount of Banelings, these corrosive biles that are starting to land. Dark is starting to lose a little bit of steam here, but there isn't really an anchor unit remaining here for Oliveira either. It's just these Marines and Medvacs.
Yeah, the tanker was completely reset. The boys being pulled through the Ultras, and a lot of SCVs going to be going down. 16 workers do fall. And as you mentioned, the tank count being reset means that Dark, he can remax, rebuild, hit again before the tank count replenishes.
Yeah, already that third base is going to go down.
Yeah, it is going to be burning as we try to save it. We do see Lynx once again engaging with the Bio Army. Bowser take down another one of those tanks. There's one tank left in the natural base. We're still just rallying Ultras across the map, and so we've lost control of that third. Oliveira knocked down to 3 base economy.
Yeah, the SimCity is pretty good here for Oliveira. He was able to trade very efficiently against the Ling Bane, but when it's all said and done, he is on a 3 base economy, whereas Dark is on a 6 base economy, one of them being a gold, and he has all the tech he needs. He's just running through these liberation zones. He doesn't care that he doesn't have anti-air. GG is called, and Dark will be taking that series 2-0.
GG, well played. A very solid result here. Solid result. A solid result from Dark here. Honestly, that last game was like a Zerg player's wet dream.
Clinical, yeah.
It was anything you could ever want out of a ZvT, just because of how greedy Dark was. Like, Dark, he cut so many corners in the early game going gasless. Not just that, we mentioned it. He opened up gasless, rushed into roaches, then took the gold. And the gold wasn't punished. The gold wasn't really deterred whatsoever. Like, Dark got away with so much greed in that game, and that's why Dark looks so overwhelming. That's why it looks so imposing against Oliveira, because of all those corners being cut, because of the economy, because everything was boosted. It just looked that much easier for Dark towards the end there.
Yeah, Dark is known for being a little bit of a scrapper. He is known of making a million lings out of only 1 base or something like that, but this game just goes to show that he is as comfortable on the other side of that fence with an insane economy.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to point out as well, right? Dark, he has a reputation of being aggressive, but also, if you let him, he can be hyper greedy as well, and he's more than willing to just indulge in that kind of side of himself. So, yeah, just a solid, I say a solid game. Just, yeah, Dark, you got away with a lot, did overwhelm its opponent. GG, he does take a solid 2-0 over Oliveira. He will advance on. Oliveira's still in this. This is still the group stage, so plenty more games ahead of us, but a solid start for Dark.
Yeah, it's a Swiss format, you know? Winning early is a huge boost, but losing early also doesn't mean that you're going to be too far behind.
Exactly. As from here, we're going to be going on a short break. You can see the countdown timer towards the top right. Only a couple of minutes here. We're going to be dipping on...
Somewhere.
There you go. After the break, we have the rest of our matches here tonight. And after the break, it's going to be Solar versus Classic.
A good old ZvP to follow us up with. We'll see you then.